Okay, welcome to the bigbandtheory.net trivia questions. So we're going to ask a question on supergroups, and as you know, a supergroup consists of already famous members from other bands. And the first supergroup sounds easy, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Can you name the first name of those four members? Pause. Okay, the answer is David Crosby, Neil Young, Graham Nash, and Stephen Stills. Not in order, but those are their first names. And they were a supergroup early on and did some amazing harmonies. They were in all different bands, Neil Young and Crazy Horse, with Niels Lofgren, Stephen Stills and Graham Nash played together in Buffalo Springfield. So already established musicians, and that's their first names. Okay, trivia question is supergroups, and I have one of my favorite supergroups that not too many people know about. You hear me talk about them all the time, UK. And UK had only one album out with these four members, the first album, and you need to name one or all four of the members of this supergroup. Pause. Okay, so we first had John Wetton on lead vocals and bass guitar, and he was earlier with King Crimson and Asia. Need I say more? Then we had Alan Holdsworth. Alan Holdsworth, even though he wasn't in a famous band, he was a known, amazing musician. If you listen to the guitar work, go to YouTube and look up the UK first album. His guitar work, nobody's ever been able to duplicate it. In fact, he was Eddie Van Halen's sort of mentor through listening because it was such crazy playing. Eddie did not copy him, he came up with his own style, but Alan Holdsworth just escapes any kind of logic for most guitarists. Next was Eddie Jobson. Eddie Jobson is not only the best electric violinist of all time, and he played with Frank Zappa. He is absolutely an amazing keyboard player, probably almost as good as Keith Emerson. And so that is the supergroup. Eddie Jobson, John Wetton, Alan Holdsworth, and who did I forget? The drummer, Bill Bruford from Yes. I can't believe I almost forgot him. Okay, question. This is bigbandtheory.net, and this is supergroup. So there's a supergroup that I love, very, very popular. They're named Asia. And I want you to see if you can name 1, 2, 3, or maybe all four members of Asia. Then if you're really good, try to name the bands they were with originally. Pause. Okay, so we've got John Wetton. He's the one that started the band, vocalist, lead singer, and at the time, Asia, he had already been in the band UK, which we talked about, and also King Crimson. Amazing vocalist, amazing bass player. Along in that band is Steve Howe, the lead guitarist. And I'm sure most of you know he was the lead guitarist for most of Yes, up until 90125 and Big Generator with Trevor Ravens. Then on keyboards, Jeff Down, and Jeff Downs had actually played with Yes and some other groups. And then fourth on drums was Carl Palmer from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Okay, trivia question. You have to be able to name all four names of the band Kiss. They were so popular, most people know the names. So give me the four original names of the band Kiss. Pause. Okay, so Gene Simmons, everybody knows Gene Simmons, the bass player, and he sang a little bit. Paul Stanley. I'll call him rhythm guitarist and singer. Then we've got, of course, Gene Simmons played bass. Then we've got Ace Frehley, lead guitar. And then last, Peter Criss on drums. Okay, next trivia question is Cheap Trick. And I want to know if you know 1, 2, 3, or all 4 members of Cheap Trick. So try to name as many as you can. Pause. Okay, the band members are Robin Zander on lead vocals. Sometimes he'd play electric guitar, sometimes he just sang. Then of course the crazy Rick Nelson, he is just so fun to watch. Then you've got Bunny Carlos, and last Tom Peterson on that amazing 12-string Hamer bass. Okay, question. Eddie Van Halen has a son, and his name is Wolfgang. And this is a double question. What is Wolfgang's band name today, and how did he get that name? Pause. So Wolfgang got the name Mammoth, and that's the name he uses today. But this is a trivia question within a trivia question. Van Halen was originally going to call themselves Mammoth, and I think Alex and Eddie agreed that was a great name. For some reason, David Roth kept saying, no, we got to name it Van Halen. We got to name it Van Halen. This is David Lee Roth fighting for the name Van Halen. And so, of course, we never heard of Mammoth until today, and that's where Wolfgang got the name. Okay, here's one. I never thought Yes ever did a cover song, but it turns out they did, 2 of them on their first album. Can you name 1 or 2 of the only cover songs Yes ever did, and they were on their first album? Pause. Okay, so there's everything, or Every Little Thing, that was a cover song of the Beatles. And the other one was actually by the Byrds. It's called I See You. And that's the Byrds, not the Yardbirds, because that would be funny, because that would just mean that he's Jimmy Page, not Jimmy Page, Steve Howe, and that would be covering what could have been an Eric Clapton or Jimmy Page song. But anyway, the Byrds, I See You, and the Beatles, Every Little Thing.